Hello, how are you guys doing? I hope you're all doing well. Got a good show going on. Tonight it's going to be about the Apollo detectives, and they're testing out film in a vacuum. So I think it's going to be an exciting and interesting show. It's good to see you all here. Thank you for coming. Glad you could make it. We got Michael Khan and Jack Cruikshank in Element. How are you guys doing?
Hello.
Yeah, I'm good.
You guys
nice attempt on the Scottish accent, Moxie. Reet new.
No.
That's more like a Geordie. A Geordie would say reet. I'd say recht.
Recht nu.
Recht nu, aye.
Yeah. Freedom.
Abrof Smoky.
Oh, I love it. Love our bro smoky.
So yeah, tonight's gonna be a nice night, I think. What do you guys takes before we start, and then saying hi to everybody about? Do you think the film could have worked in a vacuum, as they claim?
Oh, no. With the kind of stuff it's made out of, it's all chemical. The chemical the film's made out of, isn't it? So yeah, I don't think so. I don't think it could have.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, I don't know much about film and all that, but what I do know that I don't think that it could have survived. And what they claim is the kind of climate up there. You know what I mean?
When I've been out at night with my camera when it's really cold, trying to photograph stars and stuff, I have problems with it when it's cold.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, not just that. What happens when you stick something in a vacuum? All the oxygen tries to escape, so therefore all the chemicals and things is going to boil, because it's going to try to separate. So yeah, I mean, film is made out of chemicals.
Moxie said hello, Michael Crook. Yeah, if you look at like old Polaroid photos and that, if you spill like a slight bit of alcohol on it or some heat gets to it, it fades and stuff like that. So God knows what the actual film would have been in an environment like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even radiation and stuff really tampers with a film as well. It's very finicky. That's why they go and set them in a dark room for a reason, because it's very, very sensitive. Okay, so we got 29 votes. The film cannot work in a so-called space. No, it would be damaged so easily, 55%. And yes, I have faith, 45%. Shame, the people only have faith. Okay, so who we got in? We got obviously a Cruikshank, Khan, Moxie, good to see you. Gematria Wombat, thank you for coming. Detect Toofs, good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming. Glad you could make it. Some people have very difficult names to pronounce sometimes.
Yes, I know the one you're on about. Yeah.
Hi, Owen. Thank you for coming. Alan Nordstrand, good to see you. He's still digging out the snow, guys. He sent a video of all that deep snow that fell in one night. It's crazy. Spuddy, it's good to see you, mate. Television, thank you for coming. Professor Harvester, hello. Arwen, good to see you, mate. Richard G, thank you for coming. Always glad to see you. Lumpy Gas in a Vacuum, Carl Apple. It's good to see so much people in tonight. And Captain Caveman. Yeah, so how are you all doing? I hope you're all doing well. So I actually wanted to play this video last night, and then Sean came up with that, nonsense.
Oh, that real clever guy. Yeah, that real clever guy who tries to get on the show all the time to show his knowledge and that to people, but we just blank him and lie to him and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but
what are you talking about?
yeah.
Yeah, that person we ignore that you know what I mean, that gets all the attention at the same time.
Yeah, Alan Notion says, I grew up with my dad and mom having 3 Hasselblad cameras for their job. Yeah, and you would know it's very finicky when you have to work with the film. Definitely the conditions they think it's been working in will be impossible to work in. It's not that it's maybe, it is impossible. But yeah, thank you for sharing the show, Giamatra. Really appreciate it.
So this is why Alan should have been on this show.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Arwen says, I could make a graphic that shows how space-time bending contains the gas on the ball Earth. Okay, that doesn't make it real though. Hey Charlie Wells, thank you for coming, mate. Good to see you. And then he says, you are ignoring my argument for demonstrating gas pressure out container. A graphic. Graphic, that is not a demonstration, mate. I can draw unicorns. That doesn't make unicorns real. That's not a demonstration. But thank you for trying. Hey Derek Nelson, good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you. And Mandela Effect, Jonathan Bradley, hello. Good to see you.
I mean, look at that that image you've got on screen now. I mean, it's obviously there. I mean, the Earth, it's got more detail than the ground, the moon ground right in front of you. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. did you guys? Sorry, there's a video that Rachie, I think I want to first find that. She shared recently now about the moon. I think it was actually very telling that it's not a globe. By the way, shout out to Rachie with the video she just brought out for Coriolis effect. Already having the globers on a run. I'm gonna put the link in the description. Great video, Rachie, and awesome arguments brought up. And we already got the guy that we should not be named, that doesn't exist, to Michael, also commenting on it. So
To me.
here we go. More emerging timelines are causing some people to see the moon upside down. Watch this.
Why is the moon upside down? It's upside down. It's not supposed to be that way.
So, what we gonna talk about this damn moon tonight? Cause why the fuck is it upside down?
I'm 43 years old. I ain't never seen the moon with a bottom crescent before in my life.
Nope.
I've never seen the crescent on the bottom. That is so weird. Oh,
Why is the crescent on the bottom of the damn moon? That is not normal.
That proves it's
Since
not.
when was the crescent on the bottom of the moon? I always thought it was on the side.
Why is the moon upside down?
Proving that it's not the sun's light on the moon. 100%. There we go. Tell us again how the sunlight is lighting up the moon. So I just thought I would show that quickly. Brilliant. Good to see you all here. And then, oh yeah, that's what I want to show before we start. So you guys ready to start the show?
Absolutely, let's do it.
I do have the video link in my description.
Already started.
Yeah, but I mean, start the video from Apollo. So I got the link in the description box if you guys want to.
So you're playing the real footage tonight or the fake footage? What we're doing?
We're going through Apollo Detectives, where
I'm
they're
joking,
testing.
There is no real footage.
Anyway, catch-22.
Yeah, that's the one.
So yeah, they went and they actually bought the film used on the so-called Apollo missions, and they tested it in vacuum chambers that didn't even go to the same apparent vacuum that space is supposed to be. And look at the effects it's given. It's really telling.
To keep researching in and find out, oh, all we're looking at is CGI. If you can't do it, say so.
Because I actually wrote them and I said I want to do a stream on this, and they said awesome. So that's what I like about these Apollo detectives. They are very open, and they actually want people to see the truth. So that's a good thing.
Good.
Now it's just to get them to realize the Earth is flat, though, because they still believe it's a globe. But they'll get there.
Did you know that moon landing was fake before you became a flat Earth?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I said. It's one of those.
It's partly what put me on the track to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I wasn't fully on it's fake kind of thing. I was more on the fringes. It could be
fake, but I still thought space was real.
Yeah, I'm that dead.
Yeah,
I mean, I always believed the moon footage was fake and stuff like that. But I did believe it was still a rock up there that just hadn't been there yet.
I believe.
You know what I mean?
I believe they went to the moon, but they didn't land on the moon. That's what I
Right.
believed. Because I believe space is real. You understand? But I believe they didn't actually land on the moon itself, but they got to the moon. So I believed, okay, all that footage they went to the moon was real, but when they landed, it was just rubbish because look at all the fake things going on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I thought, yeah, I was a bit like, I just thought it was faked because of the space race. Do you know what I mean? That the Americans wanted to
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So they propaganded it to win the space race kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I still find it really odd that people that were containing each other, Russia and WhatsApp, they working together today still after that. They've always
and a dog and a monkey went to space before we did. Pretty cool. Well, a chimp, not a monkey.
Chimp, yeah. Hey Dala, good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming.
You have some as well, Robert. You have some material as well you'd like to present.
Well, I would like to show some of these films that I took out of the vacuum chamber. I'll explain what I did. The first thing I did was I took 2 rolls of film. Now, I got it from a factory in Hollywood. I got a pretty good deal on it. I purchased about 10 rolls of film, and it was the S-Star base, and it was the 2000 series. I took one of those films, put it in the camera, took the pictures. Then I took the control roll and took the pictures, and then I put the first one in the vacuum chamber, and I kept the control roll out. So then what happens when the pictures were all taken on both films, then I placed one of them in the vacuum chamber. And what I did was the very first test, I put a heat lamp.
Sean, your photo's not in the thumbnail, mate. It's Apollo Detectives thumbnail. You're not even in contention here.
What's he talking about?
What are you talking to?
Yeah.
So
we're
talking to some dishonest guy that doesn't know his left foot from his right foot. Okay, but anyway.
Who gets ignored while he's got all the attention.
Yeah. Anyway, this vacuum chamber. You see, this is what people actually do. They actually have a how can you say it? A theory, colloquial theory. You know, they have a thought on what could happen, why it doesn't, and they go and test it. They do demonstrations or experiments, and this is exactly what truthers do. The only problem is the Globers, we don't get this. Why? Oh no, scale. You don't understand. Okay, please prove your gravity. Oh no, but the scale. How are we going to get something bigger than the Earth? You know, that kind of thing. Or the Earth is too big or too small, or because they can't demonstrate anything. It's just literally based on belief and faith. But when it comes to actual demonstrations and stuff to show, look, this is the reason why, then they run away from it because they can't accept that they can't demonstrate their religion. He says it's him too. What the hell? Let's go and look. Yeah, it says, yeah, see how this is how it shows on mine. Space film. Apollo Detectives. It's going to show up now for you guys. There we go. Apollo Detectives, space film. Definitely not that dishonest punk on you. Hey, Better Than Gold, good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming. Good you.
Is he maybe talking about yesterday's one?
No, he's saying this one. That's definitely not his thumbnail.
He's deluded. He's deluded then. So he does think everything's about him then. It was one day, Sean. It's one day. You don't need to be starstruck over yourself.
I think he's been smoking too much, or maybe that beer that he was talking about. So yeah.
The radiation from the sun, that destroyed the lid of the chamber, so I had to go get another.
Derek Now says, I posted the stream in under the Dome server, and Sean is right. His face is on the thumbnail. Huh? What the hell? Why is that happening? I don't know why it's doing that, guys, because that is the thumbnail. This is the thumbnail, so I don't know. There's no Sean there. Okay, that's weird.
Another one, because the vacuum, it got too hot and the vacuum was sucking the lid in, so it was all warped and I couldn't seal it. So I went and purchased another chamber, a bigger one. With this experiment, what happened was when I developed both rolls at the same time in the same tank so that nobody could say, well, you developed them separately, you're going to get a separate result. I didn't want that to happen. And what I did was I put the camera on and I had it aimed at the developing system so that Scott could see the whole process being done. And what I would do is I would take the temperature and I'd bring the gauge up to Scott and I would quickly show.
Hey, Debatable D, thank you for coming. Slip Radar, good to see you, and Pokey as well. Michael, who cares about the thumbnail anyway? I do.
Yeah, but you got an apology from him at least.
Yeah, Ellen, this video covers it later, exactly.
Maya, jeez, I've never seen him apologise before.
Hey, Jeff Gassett, good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming. But I would like the Globies to pay attention on what is being presented, yeah? Because I would like to see what the counter-argument to it would be.
Okay, you see it's right there. It's sitting exactly where it's supposed to be. Anyway, so all this said and done, the very first set of film...
Wow, Pokey just sent £10. Thank you very much. Didn't say anything. But thank you for your £10, Pokey. Really, really appreciate the support. You rock, mate. You are awesome. Thank you very much. And Smits Jamal, hello, hello. Thank you for coming. Pokey, so you can send anything you want. I'll read it out for sure. Thank you very much for your super chat again. You will see what film he used, SG Rock, Sean, later on. And he did explain which one he bought in the beginning of the video as well.
That came out. We compared them.
Is it that one?
Sorry?
Is that a super chat or a super sticker?
It's a super chat, but I didn't say anything.
Oh. Okay, got you.
So I'm not sure if he forgot to write or anything, but thank you very much, Pokey, again. I really appreciate it, mate.
And I have a little box that takes the pictures, so I can roll it through the box and it will go frame by frame, so I can take the pictures and then put them digitally in the computer and edit them. So I can put the two comparisons together. So you put one together, two together, three together. Now, on the black and white, the control roll came out beautifully. The one that was in that vacuum chamber under that heat lamp, it was completely fogged out.
Did you see that? How fogged out it was? I mean, you can even see, look at those blemishes and stuff. This is how it would look just from that. And remember, this is just a normal, ordinary home vacuum. This isn't like the ultra vacuum we would see in space, apparently. It's nonsense. Hey, Oz. Hello. Good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming. And there's a lot of things that happen in a vacuum, like cold welding. I mean, don't you think there's a lot of parts in the camera that would cold weld to each other? And it's not going to... I mean, the film camera's got to do with movement parts inside. Now, those things are cold welding together. How's it going to move? Just doesn't make sense.
And this is only at a vacuum level of just maybe even scratching toward 10 to the -3, just maybe a little below that even. I did the same thing with the color, the S-Star Ektachrome 100. Now that was about the closest I could get for the fine grains.
There we go. There's your answer, Sean. Because your space is very cold. Sean, that's why. A vacuum thinks, well, because there's no gas in between the surfaces. So as soon as the flat surfaces, usually metals together, you have what's called cold welding. That they sort of weld together, but because of cold. Rachie, it's one of the strawmans they want to bring up saying, oh, you didn't use the same one, so how do you know it's not going to give the same effects? That's why. But he's literally showing you on screen he's got as close to it as possible. Any film is going to have problem, by the way, because it's chemically made. Chemicals will boil in a vacuum. Radiation would cause disturbances in that films. Why do you think they do everything in dark rooms? Very simple stuff. Yep. Plastic film gets bubbles because it's the gas that's trying to escape from the plastic.
So was using same base, and the only difference is the backing of the film. For example, you could use saran wrap, let's say, for the backing. It's just the plastic backing. The chemicals that are going into that emulsion, they're all the same. They have to be, or you would not get a picture in the end. I did the exact same thing with the color film, only it didn't fog.
That's a good point, Alan. NASA used the thinnest film, but could make more pictures on a roll. Exactly. So it would take up less space, so they can have a longer roll, so they can get more pictures.
The color film, all the hues went crazy. The blues were bleeding into the reds, the green was bleeding into the blues, and all the mountains were just blued right out. And the same with the grass. The grass was all...
I'm not, should I answer the guy that doesn't exist?
Yeah, we're going on.
Well, I'm going to tell it this way. If he wants me to answer him, he's going to have to send a super chat. How's that? Black Circle, good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming. And Sasquatch Rose, hello, hello.
Can I just say though, unless you were actually involved with making that film, how do you know they made special film?
Yeah, but what does he know how film is made? It doesn't matter how they make special film. It's chemically made. Chemicals are not immune to vacuum. Full stop. And yeah, Kodak made a film, not NASA, exactly. Exactly, Mandela. The radiation alone would mess it up. They went through the radiation belts, remember? Which they didn't even know about.
Yeah.
So they, yeah. Oh, Godzilla 37, good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming. He's already gifted 5 new memberships. Already, really appreciate it. So accept your memberships, guys. Dala accepted it. Dave, Charlie Well, Sasquatch Rose for Arts, Alan Nordstrands. Well, he's already got one. 3CP Hole and XP Black Ice. You guys all got gifted. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for coming. And also GFB45, thank you for being here. It's good to see you. SI Man, also good to see you. Thank you again, Godzilla 37, for the memberships. You rock, mate. I don't know how much more clear a person can make it about what can cause it to not work. It's the same as when they're ignoring things like you require containment to have gas pressure. It's the same thing. It's impossible, but they would fight tooth and nail to say, oh, I believe so, therefore it is. So yeah, it's insane. But I did see a thing here that I wanted to say on. I can't remember. Okay. Hey, Moomin Rider, good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming.
Bluish, it's really far off. And we've displayed that on several videos. So now we get to the third experiment where I did not use a heat lamp. And the same thing happened again, but this time I tested it with the black and white.
Whoops. Without the heat lamp this time, Flataholics, what was your claim? It was the heat lamp. Now you did it without the heat lamp, same effect. Uh-oh.
And again, it was fogged. The control was okay, and the experimental one was fogged. It was actually the black and whites that were the worst. And this time, I wanted to see what it would be like when I put it by the microwave oven and give that film roll a 1 second burst with the door open. So I poked...
Moomin Rider. Dr. Korn and Professor Nordstrand. The Shonkanator is here as well. Yeah, Derek Nelson. Apologetics are still globers themselves, but basically ignored the average glober. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, because the average, they still open to truth. They understand that the moon landings, or they still believe space to be real. Let's not get me wrong, but they believe the moon landing, you can't go to the moon. They believe it's fake because their belief is it was just propagandas propagandized to say they landed on the moon because of the space race kind of thing, to become a, the major power. It's all about government, guys. Governance of the people. That's all it's about. That's what space is about. It's governments of the people. If you get people to believe something and they pay for it, they're going to just do what you say.
Yeah. They don't believe in something that's obvious like gas pressure, but they believe in something that's miraculous like gravity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chopsticks into the door switches so that I could keep the door open with the magnetron running. What had happened was when I did the control, and then I did the one that I zapped with the microwave oven, just sitting it on the outside, and it's only about an inch away from the door, with the doors open. So when I developed that, the film is all green, it's warped, the pictures are twisted. It's the strangest thing that I've ever seen, and it's all green. It has a really greenish haze to it.
I see Charlie Walsh is taking one of his new emojis that he can use for being a member. I'm going to take this one. I like this one and this one.
I like that ghost one, mate.
I like these two.
So what I'm saying is this. How can you get pristine photographs like that when you're in an environment at torr 10 to the minus 11, which would be found on the moon? No fogging, nothing like that, when we only did it at just a shy below torr 10 to the minus 3.
Mm-hmm.
And look what happened.
And that's a huge difference, by the way, guys. He used this correct form, Sean. Just because you're trying to deny it doesn't make it. It's used exactly the same. The only difference was the backing of it. Shh. That's why I said you can use saran wrap behind it if you wanted to. So yeah, exactly, Richard. Sean, tell us, where are we going to get hold of the exact film that NASA used? This so-called special film you're talking about. And I can guarantee you, just like he showed, it's the same composition, same everything that they used.
It was just normal film because they weren't going anywhere.
It was Kodak. You can't use the film that NASA used because NASA used it, you moron. Once it's used, it's used. You idiot.
Are you really addressing him, really?
Oh yeah, why am I addressing him?
We had the hues go crazy, the colors went wonky, the film itself was fogged. The color wasn't as bad as the black and white, but it did fog. But all of the black and whites fogged. You could see that right in the actual film negative itself.
It shows that the vacuum is bad for film, and of course modern astronauts will use it.
No, that doesn't look fake at all. Oh man. Yeah, exactly, Alan. Only one failure in this chat. He's above you.
Not literally.
Well, people still believing we've been to the moon. Yeah, exactly. It's funny. I can't believe they think that.
Digital camera. They have like special computerized digital cameras, just similar to the ones that we use, but they're maybe specially designed.
Oh, what did I just see happen on his? I just want to see something.
Film and
look here, something like glitched here on his screen.
Of course, modern astronauts will use a digital camera. They have like special computerized digital cameras, just similar to the ones that we use, but
there, it glitched out. Same shot. Oh wait, let's go do this again.
At the time of the Apollo missions in the late 1960s, we use a digital camera. They
Watch
have
this.
like special
computerized
digital cameras, just similar to the ones that we use, but they're specially designed. At the
and it's going to glitch here as well.
Of course, modern astronauts will use a digital camera. They have like special computerized digital cameras, just similar to the ones that we use, but they're maybe specially designed.
Yeah.
So literally glitching out on the same video. I mean, what the hell? Hey, William Brackley, good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming. So why is it glitching out here? That tells you this is green screen. The guy's in a mock-up simulator with green screen and they added that into the green screen. The guy just didn't loop it very well, did he? The graphics. One more time. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. They literally glitch and transition at exactly the same time.
It's bad for film, and of course modern astronauts will use a digital camera. They have like special computerized digital cameras, just similar to the ones that we use, but they're maybe specially designed. At the time of the...
I just love showing this. Why is it we can bring so much stuff that's wrong with the globe, with space? Why? All space agencies, why is there always things that's shown them to be wrong? If they're showing the truth, why do we get this nonsense?
Exactly. Because there is actually so much wrong with it. That's why we can pick it out.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like... And you get the people are so blind to see that. I mean, that caught my eye straight away. Again, no, I'm not going to answer him. The guy doesn't even know what plates are in green screening, so...
All the astronauts that are alive who allegedly went to the moon, they could all stand there on TV and tell everybody that we didn't go, actually didn't go, we're telling the truth now, we didn't go, and they wouldn't get believed, I guarantee it.
Yeah, they wouldn't believe them. They would say, no, you're lying to us now. They're saying, who forced you? Who's paying you?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Bye, dishonest punk. He says he's out of here. Okay, bye.
Apollo missions in the late 1960s and early 70s, they were using literally film cameras. Anyone younger than me wonders what that is. It's basically you used to put reels in things and wind them on and stuff like that. It was just like pieces of plastic that you wrapped around. And it's important to realise, because a lot of people jump in and say, well, NASA had their own special film. They didn't. J.P. Douglas Arnold, who was he worked for Kodak UK, has confirmed that. He said, and he was very close to the space program. He worked closely with them. He's an astrophotographer, a friend of Patrick Moore's, and he said that they actually used.
There's the film type. There we go. What special film did that guy that doesn't exist say? Yeah, it's a rock head, Sean Hawkins. Remember, he's cousins of rocks. Thank you, Thaler. Michelle Thaler. He's a cousin of rock.
Sure.
He hates that I say SGT rock because he says it's supposed to say Sergeant Rock. No shit, but why should I call him Sergeant? He's not. He's not.
It says Sigget Rock. That's what it says.
It says SGT Rock, yeah. But I mean, I'm not going to give him the respect to say he's a sergeant.
No, definitely not.
Hey, Gematria, thank you for being a member for 4 months. Wow. Plato's allegory of the cave equals NASA. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Remember, guys, if you've been a member for more than a month, you can actually do a free super chat. So do take advantage of that. Hillary M, thank you for coming.
I'm an off-the-shelf.
Sorry?
I've got a free super chat.
You got your 6 month one, ain't you? You got your 6 month one. Now my next one's 6 month. That'll be in a couple of weeks, I think.
Hi, Timothy, peace out. Good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming.
Notice because your star went yellow.
I didn't know they changed colour.
They do, yeah, for every month.
Yours is yellow if you check it.
Okay.
Type something to see it.
I'm going to ask a vote. Do you guys want me to change the membership, those membership signs to like logos or something? Or do you want to keep it as the star in the circle? Let me know. Kick rocks, prawn. Michael Card, a member for 6 months. Thank you very much. Kick rocks, prawn. Wow, yeah. If he actually had a prawn to kick.
Yeah. He's got plenty of rocks, though, in his head.
Hey, me and Flatside in his head.
Oh yeah, we constantly.
Yeah, but you have to battle the rocks. You know what I mean?
Tony Whitcomb, hello, good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming. Glad you can make it. It's always good to see you.
Ectochrome. The only difference was they used the thinnest one they could find. Sprays. They wanted to get as many shots as possible, but it was something that was commercially available at the time. It was not developed especially for NASA and the space program.
When you go to March to the moon, like Scott and I have gone there many times.
Literally what was just shown, explaining, debunked the whole of Sean's argument.
to look, and I've showed this in many videos, is that when you go to March...
Lumpy, the man who doesn't exist exit... What? The man who doesn't exist left. Wow.
To the moon, and you look in the description for each one of those film magazines that were taken, it shows you the panchromatic film, the high altitude film, it gives you the numbers, the ASA number, it gives you everything that you need to know in there. And not one single one of those films that were in that list had radiation protection on them, not one of them. And the last point that I would like to make is that Tim Trumbull is a friend of ours who lives in Australia. He worked on the Oxbury optical printer for 30 years, developing the...
I would like to see Dave McKeegan try and give an argument on this. But what argument is he going to give, though? Yeah.
Film, making the special effects, setting all that up. Long story short, his film stock was starting to get fogged for some reason. So what had happened was he had called a scientist in from Kodak Labs, and they went through this problem and they tried to figure out, why is this film fogging?
But doesn't film also have a shelf life or something? But I think the shelf life is something like 25 years or something, as far as I know. Correct? I'm not really sure. But I know it does have a shelf life.
So they had figured it out that it was from the cosmic radiation that was coming through the Van Allen belts, and what was ever making it...
Pokey, McKeegan's dog has more to say than him. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I think that's what's giving him all his subscribers, is the dog. Should I get a dog or something to sit next to me for more subscribers?
Just get Sean sitting next to you.
No, you'll scare away you guys. Everybody's going to leave me.
That's a repellent, isn't it?
Exactly, Godzilla. Have to lie to Bluff.
Was coming to the surface, and it was interfering with that film. So what they did was constructed a Faraday cage, and that's where Tim stored all of his film stock, and he never had a problem after that. So once again, when you are seeing these films being taken through the Van Allen belts all the way to the moon...
Exactly, Alan. Everything has a shelf life like the globe.
Pictures taken, video, whatever, and then they come back, and you don't have any fogging. Why would he have to build a Faraday cage for this problem when he's down...
What? Rach is in Africa, get a lion. No, that's not going to work.
On a boat.
Moomin says, nah, get McToon to sit with you.
Wow.
You'd have to peel him out of his basement first.
His
I
mom's...
can't believe he's got the same name as me.
Is that his name, Michael?
Michael, yeah. Michael Toon. But he's got a middle name as well, I think.
Named after an angel. He's got the word God in his name. Not good.
Here on the Earth, there's another problem.
You know that, of course, like, to experiment with the microwave oven is also an attempt to reproduce some of the effects of being on the moon, because it's not just the vacuum that's the problem, it's a very high rate.
Well, my daughter's got a little fluffy cat like the one from Dr. Evil. But it's there at the Grands at the moment, it's sitting there. But it looks exactly like it. I can always use that.
Radiation environment. There's the sun producing a huge amount of radiation on all wavelengths, all frequencies, and very high amplitudes. In other words, for example, the light from the sun is like, I think it's 20% brighter because there's no atmosphere.
I have the documents on that.
Sure, thanks.
I like that. There's no atmosphere.
Lotions in the house.
Sorry?
Lotions in the house.
Hey, Lotion, how is it going?
No, he's not. He doesn't exist either.
How's it going, Lotion?
It's going well. Just doing some painting.
Painting?
Yeah, I get rust on my car.
Okay.
Did he just say that he built like a tinfoil hat kind of thing for his camera?
No, the Faraday cage. Yeah, they built the Faraday
Isn't that like
cage for
copper
for these film to store it in, so the radiation doesn't affect it in the long run.
Gotcha.
But I know the packagings you get today have radiation protection in them. They have like a film in the radiation in the packaging that helps for radiation, like almost like a Faraday cage kind of thing. But that was probably the days before they had the radiation protection for all the film.
56%. Right.
Sorry?
I was just going to say not that anyone is real anyway, like, because they didn't go to space.
Yeah. Like I said, these guys are still glow believers, guys. They just don't believe in the moon landings, and they're showing it to be fake. Boogie says, film aside, I have reservations that the camera would work. Yeah. I think some of the camera would give problems because of, like I said, with cold welding and stuff, because of the temperatures. And
see, there's moving parts in film cameras.
Yep, exactly. And if
intricate parts as well. You know what I mean?
And I mean, what happens to, let's say, plastic in a vacuum? It gets very brittle.
Yeah, of course, it would snap easy.
So I mean, there's going to be issues of wear and tear. As soon as they're going to start trying to take photos, it's going to break. There's stuff in there that's going to break.
Intricate little gears or cogs, whatever you want to call them. I mean, little pins, you know what I mean? Yeah, of course.
It's crazy.
Even more, 56%.
You have 93% more UV radiation and about 54% more ultraviolet radiation. Plus you have the full spectrum of that radiation field that the sun is giving off.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that they're talking about is they think, oh, they just brought the film out and took the pictures on the moon, and that's the only time.
Oh yeah, Tony Whitcomb, watch the dirt fall off the wheels of the moon rover. He said this last time as well, I think. Not 1/6 of Earth's gravity, but falls off like it would on Earth. Exactly. Exactly. It falls exactly, but that's what they do with this. It was shown, they just shoot it at like 60 frames a second, and they just slow the footage down to make it look like they are in 0 G gravity. Simple as that. It's very easy to mimic what they were showing you guys.
That it's being fully protected. No, these magazines were not. As a matter of fact, the magazines that were on the outside of the spacecraft on the service module, other magazines were stored in the LEM for their ground photographs. They were already stored in quadrant 1. They went through full launch. They're physically outside. They have no vacuum protection, no radiation protection, nothing for the entire trip. Then, when they go out and do an EVA, it doesn't matter where they store the film because they leave the door open. The LEM is not pressurized while they're gone.
There we go. Door open, not pressurized.
Yep.
There we go.
Alright. You're alright, Lucian. Didn't see it though, man.
Yeah, the only thing they did redesign to make it is so it will be comfortable because it's pivoted on his suit, and because their gloves are so thick, so there was no other really, they couldn't, how are you going to redesign for the film not to get damaged, and for things like cold welding, and well, you can change obviously some of the components inside. But as far as I know, they still had plastics and stuff inside the cameras. Hey, Walking Man, thank you for coming. Good to see you.
Exactly, and the camera was a Hasselblad camera, which was specially designed for the space program, but it was not pressurized. It was not pressurized camera like the one the spy satellites used. It's to come back to the sunlight. If the sun is 56% bright on the moon, right, your eyes would be damaged. I mean, just the light alone, you'd need some kind of protection. You don't often see the astronauts' faces dark.
That's why they have a gold shield over top of them, and if they needed to have that for their eyes.
Does Rachel have a Discord channel? Rachel, if you have a Discord channel, send me the link. I'd love to join.
Don't say Discord channel, it just said the post on your channel.
Oh, do you post? I thought you saying Discord. Where did I read Discord from?
I don't know.
Sometimes we do that. Sometimes we put words into things that aren't actually there, and we actually think we've seen that. I've done it plenty myself.
Yeah. Exactly, Pokey. The cameras in a museum, some show lots of gaps. Not just that. They, like you said, it's not pressurized. So it's everything inside there is still prone to the vacuum. And we can't even get close to the vacuum that they're on there. Not even close. There's a big difference. Hi, Brian Stavely. Good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you.
Why did they not have a specialized lens for the cameras?
Yeah, the lens was normal, but as you say, it's not just the light, it's the harmful rays, such as ultraviolet, which is filtered out by the Earth's atmosphere, much to the greatest extent. If it didn't, it could cause cataracts and other things that could blind you and do permanent damage to your eyes. Well, you mentioned the service module. I noticed that the film in the service module has to be brought back to the command module by an EVA in a spacesuit, because there's no way to access that compartment from inside the command module, inside the spaceship. You have to leave, basically you have to go around the outside to pick it up.
They only did that one time, and that's just before they so-called returned. Of course, none of it really happened. It's just part of the storyboard. It is a wonderful fairy tale. All of this stuff has been made up in advance.
Said for true, yeah, it's made in advance. I mean, this is really very simple stuff.
And they are changing it at will. They're changing it constantly. Over 50 years, they've had to keep changing this stuff.
Robert has just shown us an image of the electromagnetic spectrum, and it's the amplitude of the waves, in other words, how bright they are. What we should do is explain something about the units of measure we're using and about the scale, because vacuum is basically an absence of material.
Absolutely.
Well, I love when they bring this argument up. This is where the Globers fail hard on their face. They don't actually understand how vacuums work. This is why they love storming us. Oh, vacuums don't suck. Yeah, we never say vacuums suck. By the way, you can take a vacuum cleaner. What do you think happens when you stick it to a piece of dirt? Does the dirt jump into the vacuum cleaner? I just want to say that. It's like coming there, it's like, come dirt, jump into my pipe.
So when you take
dirt's pretty obedient.
Yeah, but I mean, that shows you how it works. I mean, high pressure to low pressure. It literally has a force to it. It's forcing things into the available space. So it's forcing that dust and everything that's in with the gas into that space. It's filling the space.
And you see a comment, like we have under the latest video, we have a comment from this gentleman, and he's talking about, oh, it's just this, there's no force. As the vacuum comes down, the force and force and force diminishes. So vacuum is not a problem. And there's only 3.7 psi in the suit. Well, I did the calculations for the suit.
Mike H is a commenter, a YouTube commenter, I believe.
He's only looking at one side of the scenario.
Hey, M Stone, good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming. Glad you could make it.
Because you have the spacesuit is a wall between where you have an atmosphere and the outside where you don't. Then he refers to being pressure underwater. Well, to simplify it easily, when you go underwater and you're in a submarine or even in a suit or whatever, or a pressure suit under there, you equalize the pressure inside the craft to match the outside pressure of the water. However, the point being is that when you have pressure on the inside and pressure on the outside and you equalize those, there's no pressure on the hull itself.
That's right, yeah.
And what these guys say, oh, there's no pressure, there's only like 3.7 psi. But that's per square inch.
Yeah, that's why we usually say the surface. They don't understand the surface. Because they like saying, oh, but there's so little air pumped in there. It's not, yeah. Where's the Michelin man here? Do you see any Michelin man here? Any Eros man pumping up here? No, we don't see that. Because there's no pressure on the outside to push back.
PSI per square inch. So 100 square inches of material has, at 3.7 per square inch, is 370 pounds. But what they don't understand is that's on the inside of the suit. On the outside of the suit,
there's nothing.
You have nothing.
Exactly. It's not, I mean, this is just simple stuff that they don't get. Hey Mojo Shop, good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming. Glad you could make it. You guys have anything to say?
No, you're doing fine. I'm actually eating ice cream at the minute.
Oh, nice.
What you say?
Ice cream in the cold. Makes so much sense.
I could eat ice cream in the snow.
There's the two calculations that I did. So if you're inside of a spacesuit, which is approximately 2 square yards,
Walking Man, Mr. Baldy Sensible Cat's Hasselblad Moon, a picture of stupidity. I'll actually go look through it sometime, mate. Thank you very much for the video. I'll watch.
Included the helmet, gloves, or boots, right? You have about 2 square yards of material. You now have 19,180 pounds. So when you take a look at the other calculator that I sent, that's what's on the outside pushing back against the suit.
Which is tiny.
Exactly, Godzilla. If there's no pressure on the suit, then there's pressure pulling it apart. It's the difference of matters. What? The inside suit of 14 psi, outside suit 0. Yeah, so that force that's being applied outwards will rip the suit apart. And how, I mean, you've seen materials. They say they've got like 10 different types of materials laid on each other. That doesn't keep gas inside. It would literally be pulled out through the seams. Remember, material is woven. It's got small, minute gaps in between. The gas will escape.
Porous. There's holes in it all over the place.
I mean, you can take a solid thing like a plastic piece of bumper or anything or steel. You would literally see it having gas bleeding. The gas is going to bleed through it. And that's a solid. Hey, Michelle Frost. Sorry, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate all the support, people. It's good to see so much people in tonight again.
Tiny amount.
Yes. 1/5000th of a percent. That's
like
calculated at a torr value of 10 to the minus 7. Not being on the surface of the moon. You just got to add 5 more zeros to that. That's how little pressure is pushing back. So now the suit itself.
Better Than Gold's going to be doing the stabbing link tonight. That should be awesome. Yeah, guys, if you haven't already, do go to Better Than Gold's channel. He's really on point with the streams these days, having really cool topics to discuss. And the latest one is a woman that was stabbed doing Bible study, as far as I know. So yeah, do go and go watch that. Occupant 9, thank you for coming. Glad you came. He says NASA ruined space for me. I think NASA ruined space for a lot of people. I think the problem with NASA though is they've taken the role of the poster child for space.
Yeah.
So so they're gonna get the most flack. Because yes, there's other space agencies out there that really do horrendous jobs, by the way. But they're not taking the foot as I'm the best space agency like NASA, you know what I mean? We're the guys that sent people to the moon. We're the ones that did this. We are above everybody with our technology, blah blah blah. So that's why the people get attacked most. Not because they like the only space agency, no, it's because the poster child of space.
Yeah, that's it.
Now has to handle that force because it's not equal. This is what they don't understand.
Hey, Rob Keane, good to see you, mate. Haven't seen you in a while. Glad you could make it. Thank you for coming.
That zipper is going to tear wide open. It has 10 tons of force. Like when you see these comments like that are under our videos, and they're going, oh, well, that's nothing. There's very little pressure there at all. It has no pressure. But that's only one part of the equation. It's just showing pressure equals force over area. All right? So to get the force, you measure the pressure times the area.
100% vacuum would mean there are no particles present. Pressure
That's
zero.
right. So that's on one side. But on the inside of the suit, you're going to take pressure and multiply it by the area, and that equals the force. And there's the calculation. That's how it's calculated. But you have to do both sides of the equation. You have to do the internal pressure per square inch and outside pressure per square inch. And people don't quite understand.
No, they don't do both. They ignore them together. Hey, Mikey Smith, thank you for coming, mate. Thank you for coming. Good to see you. I mean, they ignore that there's two different pressure. When we're on Earth, we have pressure pushing down on us because the gas is hitting us from all over. And we, in a suit, you would be having outward. So they are having an equal and opposite reaction. But if you're in a vacuum, you don't have that equal and opposite reaction. You simply only have a one-way vector.
Yeah.
They don't understand that.
And then within the other little pieces I cut out here, if you're just looking through them, this particular one, you can have different gauges. If you take a pressure gauge to measure the tire pressure.
You can pull a car with Velcro, yes, because of the tension. Because of the, you know, it's like taking a, I don't know if you guys saw where they take a phone book and then they stick it together like this, and it can hold because the tension is holding it, all the friction, and you can't pull it apart because there's so much friction. That's exactly what's happening with Velcro, slip radar. But you can still.
Not airtight, though, is it?
No, it's not airtight, and the air pressure is much greater than what the Velcro would be able to withstand.
Pressure in your car or whatever, right? Put it on there. It's only measuring just the pressure inside the tire. It's not a bidirectional.
What? Tony would come. If a globe's head shrunk to an inch, their brain still would fill the available space. It still wouldn't fill the available space, exactly. Oh, man. I don't think they really try and understand. That's the problem. They don't want to. Because as soon as they believe, if they go and see the reality of the situation, they have to then be honest with themselves and say, listen here, what I'm fighting so vividly for all these years is false. And the ego gets the better of them. So they're not going to go and say, listen here, I was wrong, blah, blah, blah. They'll just stay in their delusion. It's much more easier to stay in the delusion because they've got ego problems than to face reality and to say, listen here, yeah, I was wrong, sorry.
It doesn't give you the total force between the inside and outside because it would then have to cancel the outside air pressure on it. But when you have a different gauge, a differential gauge, right? It shows you the difference between the outside and the inside pressure on it. That's the total pressure against the wall between the two, for lack of atmosphere.
So it'd be like if you have a pressure gauge and you pump your tyre up, you'd have to have a separate barometer to check what the current air pressure was at the moment, because the air pressure varies at the Earth's surface.
But you can buy a differential pressure gauge to show the total force that's applied against there. And then if you open the one just directly to the left of it, and I specifically did that under the specifications on how you calibrate the different ranges, whether it's going to be torr, milligrams, or PSI or whatever. Take a look at the bottom, the warning at the bottom.
Warning, exceeding the maximum pressure range will destroy the sensor.
Mm-hmm.
That's for all of the particular gauges, because they can only read to a certain pressure.
Yep, there's a reason why they put that on, exactly. This also reminds me, like, with the lunar rovers and the, with Perseverance and stuff, where they got the plastic cable ties on them. I mean, spending $1 billion to manufacture plastic cable ties that you can go to any hardware store and get and just stick a NASA logo on, somehow thinks it's going to keep it from being damaged and get brittle in the low. Sorry?
I don't know what wholesalers NASA's going to if they're buying their zip ties at that price. You know what I mean?
Hey, Flat Earth Warriors, good to see you. Yeah, I mean, it's still normal plastic zip ties, guys. You just gave them a budget of $1 billion for it. It's like, oh, we'll just say we we did tests on it or whatever. Let's just stick a NASA logo on it, and there we go. Yeah, they banked the rest of the money, correct? It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Then you have to use
Sorry? I thought Lotion said something.
a mass spectrometer to read farther, where it's estimating the residual molecules in the vacuum. People say it doesn't have a force. They continue to do that. When you do the calculation, it is pressure equals force over area, right? It's always a force. People don't understand it's a force, and it's a magnificent force at that. There's so many examples on how to do that. Mythbusters.
Gadget Inspector, thank you for coming. I got married in a spacesuit. Good one.
Here's their shot back. They picked 2 tons of 4,000 pounds off the ground. They picked a pickup truck off the ground with a shot back. They're only talking about a differential of maybe 1.5 pounds pressure in the atmosphere. Like you're taking probably the best shot back will pull down from 760 torr down to 600 torr. The vacuum did not collapse. The machine didn't collapse. But when you put it over the surface area, you're able to pick the entire truck up.
Surface area makes a difference, guys. And this is what the argument is. What's the surface area of the spacesuit inside? Or like the LM. And remember, the LM was made of a very thin aluminium. They could literally stick their finger through if they wanted to, just so thin. It would fly in a tin can. An aluminium tin can.
Yeah, it's good to see Gadget again.
Yeah, it's good to see.
I quite believe he got married in a spacesuit, to be honest. When he was probably Elvis underneath it as well. No, good, man.
Well, that's the same as the surface area inside the spacesuit. Do you think a zipper can hold that much pressure?
Robert was mentioning the experiment he did with the film, coming back to that because it's related to the vacuum. It surprised me when I first heard about it, Scott, but there seems to be like a considerable difference in terms of the pressure variation you talk about. There's a considerable distance depending on how hard the vacuum is. So, for example, a vacuum chamber, like the one that Robert used, the pressure differential is very different in there than it is on the moon, where the vacuum is much harder. There's far less material.
We have Bill Demos working right now with his vacuum chamber at the university. We'll probably be getting some results, probably next week or something, because he has the film once again in a vacuum chamber. A roughing vacuum is basically what Robert has, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still don't know how the guys don't watch this, and they don't get it. How do you watch something like this and be a globie and say, yeah, no, the film definitely worked. Yeah, we can definitely have spacesuits in a vacuum. Slipper says, I'll admit the lunar lander looks like paper mache. Does the spacesuit make my butt look fat? Good one, Michelle Frost.
Chamber comes down equal to, say, 50 to 60 miles off the surface of the Earth. Right? You're still actually in the atmosphere. That's as far as it can pull it down. When you get the...
Yep, even a vacuum needs a chamber. Exactly, Jeff. Even a vacuum needs a chamber. Anything that's got to do with pressure requires containment.
Containment, yeah.
These turbine vacuums that pull it down past that. And even Bill said to me, he said, when you get past 10 to the minus 4, he said, things start to happen that you had no idea would happen. Because you're now affecting the molecular structure of materials. Mm-hmm. I mean, even steel. I have documents on the vacuums that show at what torr level the different materials off-gas at.
See?
And it's pretty amazing.
See, that's what I was talking about with the off-gassing. So, what is the off-gassing that they would have of those materials in their Hasselblad camera? And I mean, what kind of elements that they use? I mean, they still have plastics in there, and plastic is definitely going to have problems if it's in a vacuum.
Most of them start at 10 to the -3. That's in solid
I've
metal.
repeatedly shown that video of that fella doing exactly that, putting two metal discs together
Cold fusing.
and using a rough-in pump, and look what happened, they stuck together.
Yeah, it's cold fusing. Because now it's the pressure between the two that's holding, because there's no air to push them apart.
Yeah.
You can do it even with that. You realize everything in off gases, even on Earth.
Liquid within a structure will actually evaporate in vacuum. Yeah, that's off gassing.
Everything off gases at a different rate. The vacuum just simply speeds it up.
So here's the other thing that we were talking about too, is that with the Gateway project,
Hi David Zimmerly, good to see you. Even a pressure cooker needs a chamber. Oh, we had an awesome pressure cooker, but it cracked. I have to get my wife a new one again.
They are good though, aren't they? Pressure cookers for cooking stuff. Very good.
those tubes are going to have structure, and really good structure built into them, with cross members or something that is going to hold that open from exploding. It's going to have to be contained because the ISS is only about torr 10 to the -6.
I like it. He says it's got to be contained. Let's just listen to again.
Going to hold that open from exploding. It's going to have to be contained because
That's going to have to be contained, guys. Yeah. The words that Globers hate using, contained.
Isn't it mad how much they hate that?
because the ISS is only about torr 10 to the -6. And look at the structure that is on the inside of those modules. Now let's take that and go even further, and let's take that and build that around the moon's vicinity. Now it's going to be torr 10 to the -11. So the structure that's going to be required in order to contain that one atmosphere that they're claiming to put inside of this thing, it's going to explode as soon as they pressurize it, if it is not structurally sound. And the other thing is, they're only going to be able to use one-time seals. So that means that every time they dock and undock, before they can dock again, they're going to need metal seals, disposable metal seals that can be replaced each time. Because
yes, can to cold weld. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's so much wrong with the ISS arguments. I mean, look when they had when they had Petit on, when they're saying, okay, what seals do they use? They said they use rubber seals. It's like rubber seals in space. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don Petit said it's what they do if you get on. Is like I just have an on.
No, he didn't even put the same name.
Yeah, they have a procedure for that. They should just have a procedure.
Yeah. And it's mad that everything's on the outside of the space station, so they have to go outside in spacesuits so that they get nice pictures and films and that of them fixing stuff, when you'd think the stuff they need to access, they would do it in a way where you could do it from inside. You know what I mean?
Godzilla says, they almost always have the hatches in between compartments open. Doing on a military submarine would get you court-martialed. Yep. And I mean, even the hatches they have in the ISS, it looks like paper. It flops like this. What the hell? You're supposed to have airtight, pressurized seals. How do you have that if it's flopping around like crazy?
Oh man, paper works just fine.
Because when we look at Bill's vacuum chamber that goes down...
Alan Ocean, yeah, try using a rubber head gasket on an engine.
It's almost like they get to a point where they're like, hey, we're not going to be able to fake this. What should we use? And some just dummy says, use paper. And they're like, yeah, we'll go with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's put it this way, Alan. What's the reason you're going to upgrade to a copper gasket when you're pushing up the power on your car? Because the pressure would become too much for the normal, ordinary gaskets. I mean, you get like a cork gasket. It's not going to take the pressure that a copper gasket can take.
to Tor 10 to the minus 6, every time he changes or replaces one of those little glass viewing ports and changes it to something else, or opens the lid to put something new into it, that metal seal has to be replaced because it gets crushed when you screw them down together in the plates between the two surfaces. So that would mean that if he has to do that down here on the Earth at 10 to the minus 6, but just imagine what that's going to be like when you get out to the vicinity of the moon at Tor 10 to the minus 11. No structure, no go.
Yep, it's just impossible. I mean, also, when we get the images of the so-called ISS in space, it's either CGI or FX models with a green screen. It's never actual video footage of it. I mean, when you get it, it's like they've got so much money, got so much good technology. Why can't they have live feeds on the outside of the ISS showing inside? And you know what I mean? It's just crazy.
Yeah, cool.
They got like one little camera kind of thing showing to the Earth as it's going past it, which literally can render in real time. It's idiotic.
Yeah, this is important for listeners to realise that that the kind of effects that Robert has achieved with his experiments would be exaggerated many-fold on the moon, where the vacuum is much higher, much harder. There's far less material. It's like almost a pure vacuum, almost like deep space, rather than what you have, because the International Space Station is supposedly in space. It's in orbit, but there's still residual atmosphere at the altitude that it orbits, which is 200 odd miles. There's still residual atmosphere, which, as we've demonstrated, has an effect. When you reduce that effect, there's like it feels like there's like a logarithmic rise in these vacuum effects. That's what.
Hey Nathan Oakley, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Yep, it's fake. Fake.
It's not fake. It's real, honestly. It's real. It's really real.
I just want to see how's it going with the comment. 77 votes. The film cannot work in so-called space. No, it would be damaged so easily. 69%. Yes, I have faith. 31%. It's sad to see you still get people thinking that it's fine because they have faith it will be just working.
It appears to be.
And then you look at the ones on the ISS. Now we're talking about the suits. If you compare those to the ones that were in the Apollo era, you notice that the suits on the ISS, they have structure to them. They're hard, the structure. Now, when you take the ones that were used on Apollo, they're quite flimsy. There's no structure to the suit.
Nope.
So how is that going to function when you get to Tor 10 to the minus 11 in a flimsy suit, when these astronauts at the ISS, when they do a spacewalk, they're in an environment of Tor.
See what I mean? This is what they're showing. Now I think this is real.
That dude, that astronaut in the background, looks like he's crapped himself out of the shot.
He did, oh man.
He was walking about like Whitsit's intro astronauts. I don't know if he still does it. Like, I don't know if I haven't seen him for ages, but he used to have these astronauts dancing. That's what they look like.
10 to the minus 6, and they have to have structure to that suit. And yet they're trying to tell us that the Apollo spacesuits had no structure.
How do they poop in those things? They just take a dump. I think they got a bag there, and I think they also pee in their suits, and it regulates or something their temperature, as far as I know. And then they recycle the pee and drink it.
Yeah. Look at this, the temperature. Warm pee regulates their temperature. It's brilliant.
Yeah, but I think they recycle the pee to drink it or something.
Yeah, nice.
Structure to them, and yet they functioned just fine.
Because I mean, think about it. They do spacewalks. Usually that's like 5 hours long, and nothing looks to be getting done on their space.
They're just flipping spanners about. That's all they do.
I mean, if you do see footage like it, let's quickly. Okay, we're not gonna. Where it's like showing other astronauts working live on the. Oh, it's got moonwalk. and he's busy. It's taking him an hour just to fiddle with something here, you know, like on his wrist, for an hour long, because they can't really move their fingers. Now this comes back to the ISS. Did anybody ever see anybody build the ISS up there, or did it just appear there one day?
Exactly. Be more realistic if they sent them out there just to clean the outside of the ISS, rather than pretend they're working.
Exactly. Hey, Ty Smokes too much. Good to see you, mate. And Club Rickus, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Oh, yep, the astronauts are masons. I mean, how much of them have been shown to be actual masons? Like 90% of them or something? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's good to be joined to the club. How else do you want to become an astronaut if you're not a mason?
That's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
I mean, think about it. Say anybody here wants to become an astronaut. You either have to know someone that knows someone that knows someone that knows someone, or you just have to be part of the club.
True.
If you go onto YouTube, you'll find some videos of astronauts on the International Space Station and the Mir and the Space Shuttle actually dressing in their spacesuits. And there is a structure that it appears the chest part is rigid, and there's some kind of seal where the waist is. So
Hi, Andrew Johnson. Thank you for coming. Good to see you.
the waistband is actually like a vacuum seal with something you just attach and clip in it.
And yeah, Andrew, the ISS never just, I mean, it didn't get built how they were saying. Can you show us any evidence that it was built through time like that? No, it literally just appeared there like it was. Hi, Mr. Obvious, thank you for coming. Good to see you. And God Bill, hello. One day you will show the wires you claim to see. We've been showing it all the time.
Yep.
We recently showed it on a one I did with Dave McKeegan. Go watch that and you'll see wires that they forgot to take out.
It looks like it's metal. And of course the gloves and the boots attached the same way. It appears that the suit is in those sort of structures. And the helmet, there's a neck on the neck as well. That's on the ISS, not on the moon. I mean, and Marcus knows all about this. It's just another element of this issue I think the listeners should realise, is that the astronauts had to do this in the lunar module when they were standing on the moon. And then they had to take them off again afterwards. And there's not much room in there. Not much room to move around.
Not at all. It's quite a tight fit just for two people. They can hardly move. How are they going to get all that right?
Just the space that them suits alone take up.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. That's why I was asking, how will they get it right? How will they go and get changed in? It's just no space to be able to do it. I mean, they need help before they even get there, and now they've got to do it alone inside there.
And they fitted a rover in there as well.
Yep.
Demonstrated that when they were faking it in the photographs, Buzz Aldrin was right up against the door frame. That was just simply a hollow shell that was in there.
Yep. You can see the cardboard here. Come on, guys. Sort of looks like cardboard. Now I know Dave McKeegan says, "Oh, you look in the shell. You see some pieces are thicker, some are thinner, and they just stuck wrinkled Reynolds wrap around it." No, he wants them to believe that. Hey, RH, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Chaffing would be an issue. Exactly. There's just too much wrong with the narrative that they've given. It's like, how do they keep fighting to try and say it's real? How?
All they needed was just the frame piece and the ladder to come down off of to do the simulation. They needed as much room as possible in there just to climb in and out with the PLSS on. There's no way that two people could have been in there with all of the equipment they...
I mean, just like that, they're going to be like squashed next to each other in there. You're not even going to be able to move your arms or something just to press buttons or something if they have to. If you got the suit on, you understand? I mean, that's quite a tight fit even with two normal people without the suit on.
It is. I mean, they're all fiddly little switches and little buttons and levers and that. I mean, there's no maneuverability in that.
Yeah, how do they screw their gloves on without assistance?
Claim to have had, and included the console, which is not in the photograph. It's simply not there. And when you see those things and you realize that this is not only how they practice it, this is how they did the final simulations.
I don't know if Jim Collier's still with us. He actually went to a LEM in a museum and was allowed to take measurements of the inside of the compartment, the pressure hull and the LEM ascent stage. And it's quite shocking when you see the results he got about how small that space is, even with the console there. Yeah.
But they also refused to allow him to measure the one hatch. Said enough of that. They won't bring it over. They won't lift them up. They just let him have a little quick shot inside, and that was it, right?
I've heard it's 32 inches square. That's what I've heard.
A latch. How's it with a spacesuit going to go through 32 inches? Exactly, occupant. 1 million opportunities to tear a fabric spacesuit. I mean, we literally got the astronaut saying it's so thin he can poke his finger through the spaceship. And how does a spacesuit look? It's got pointy things everywhere. The edges are literally going to break that ship apart because they're scratching against something. It's crazy. They used lube. Gadget. Must have been a very good lube.
That's the one coming out. The top hatch is only 24.
Oh, blimey, that's nothing.
Apollo 15 did a stand-up EVA out the top hatch.
Really?
It's possible that the umbilical cord was long enough for him to be able to do that. Supposed to be standing on the engine and do the stand-up EVA, because that one wasn't really a...
Hi, Namfree Folson, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Also notice how many different materials they use to build it up. Yep. That's like very shoddy homework that they quickly just stuck together.
Planned thing like that, and considering they didn't have any contingency for additional consumables, that would have meant that they would have had to repressurize one more time than they'd planned on, and they just don't have that extra amount of material with them. You don't see any adjustment in the oxygen tanks, fuel tanks, or anything else between Apollo 11 and 17. If you realize just for 17, it's not just the weight of the rover, but there's nearly 2,000 pounds of batteries that they would have to have.
Yep, they were on there for the moon for a lot longer. They'd have had to have extra oxygen, extra scrubber material, which would be like to remove the carbon dioxide.
EVA goes from 2.5 hours to 24 hours, so it's 10 times the consumables, just for the PLSs alone.
I've seen these scrubber material. I mean, I had to deal with this at the hospital because I had to change oxygen cylinders on machines, anaesthetic machines and things like that. Pressurise them and they don't last very long. And then, of course, you need scrubbers as well because some of the gases are rebreathed when you're in a hospital.
Alan Ocean, another point is 2 astronauts left their life support on the moon and later had to do a spacewalk out of the command module to retrieve the film on the outside. They had their boots switched on one pic of the doofs in fake space. Wonder where Buzz Aldrin stored all of his booze. That's a good one.
You don't want to know the details.
Yeah, stop with that logic. They won't believe you. They won't believe anymore.
And they have scrubbers to remove carbon dioxide and things like that when they're making the patient rebreathe the air. And these are like big plastic buckets full of white granules, and they change colour when they're chemically bonded with the carbon dioxide. And again, you need a lot of that. And it wasn't a very big margin of error. I mean, we know this because when it all came out long after the moon mission supposedly happened, they found out that, oh, what if something goes wrong with the LEM? How long would, say, Apollo 11 have to do the repairs to get back? If they could do the repairs, it may not be possible. How long will they have? They said, oh, they only had about 2 hours extra oxygen, something like
Hi, Inram. Good to see you, mate. Thank you for coming.
that. I think it was 2 hours, which means that if it took longer than 2 hours to fix the problem and get back up to the command module, they suffocate on the lunar surface.
You know what I mean? Look at Apollo 13 where they had the problems. The so-called problems. I mean, they even made a movie about it because of that. And it's such a dramatic story made out of it. And it's only things that would be able to happen in the movies. It's crazy.
Exactly, but they didn't have a larger tank when they all of a sudden stayed for
Exactly, RH, because we didn't go there. Exactly.
3 days for 15, 16, and 17.
These are just some of the issues we come up with, and I mean, a lot of the people like Gerald White and Marcus Allen and Bart Zabrell and the other people you may be familiar with, I've interviewed a couple of these guys. It's a multidisciplined task, but basically, I think we proved that it is essentially like a movie. It's been described as being like a movie, and it is. But you brought up another point, Scott, and again, Mumbling did not allow you. He kept interrupting you, and
yeah, guys, please hit that like button. Really would appreciate it. Share the show so we can get out to more people. Really do appreciate all the support. You guys are awesome. Thanks.
Stopping you from speaking. But you were explaining how there would have been a problem with communication. Now, it's important to realise that literally there's been only the Apollo produced live television pictures from the moon, like motion pictures in electronic form, which went onto people's TV screens, apparently. That was never repeated, interestingly, until the most recent landing on Mars, where for the first time since then we had motion pictures from outer space, not including the ISS, which is in orbit. But we actually had motion pictures from another planet because the craft that landed on Mars.
Yeah, guys, batteries. How well do batteries work in cold weather or in vacuums?
Yeah, not very well. Not in cold anyway.
Nope. And I mean, if you had to stick a battery in a vacuum, what do you think is going to happen to the cells?
Yeah, exactly.
Did send back like a quite sophisticated motion image of its landing.
We don't know how that was simulated. The movie studios do a much better job today.
Some people say that was fake as well, yeah, the Mars missions. I mean,
Yeah, it was fake.
Yep.
You can do that with a drone if you wanted to.
Yeah.
No, done a thing about that.
We believe the moon was fake, but no, they definitely went to Mars. Come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Have to ask the question,
You
why
guys
does NASA have 21 movie production studios? They have the largest, most expensive, the most highest tech movie production studios in the world.
Yep. And then
you guys ever seen Randy Kramer? He's the guy that claimed to be fighting mantis beings and reptoids on Mars for 20 years, a part of this conglomerate space like commanding unit. It is so funny to listen to this guy talk about it. Randy Kramer.
Yeah, I heard of Randy Kramer, exactly, yeah. Godzilla says they heated the battery compartments using the batteries to power the inside space heater. Yeah, that's not going to use the power up at all. Thank you, Occupant 9, for coming. Really appreciate you coming. Hope to see you again. See you again tomorrow, I guess. Yeah, you know what's interesting about all these NASA television studios and all that? Kubrick's 2000 Odyssey came out a year before the moon landing, correct?
It did, yeah.
Don't you think they could have taken a year to produce this after his movie came out?
Definitely.
And they were very big pals with Kubrick for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Flat Earth Canada, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Glad you could make it.
He kind of points to the moon landings and that in The Shining, doesn't he? Where the kids jump up, stuff like that.
Yeah.
In the 237, which is meant to represent 237 miles, 237,000 miles to the moon and that. Yeah.
Yeah. Godzilla says, I don't see the problem. Electric space heaters are very efficient.
That level
I'm
of
gonna
technology.
show you guys a picture of the moon I took, and it actually has the numbers 3, 2, and 7 on it.
Okay.
327. Nice. Just a message from the man in the moon. He's trying to contact us.
While I'm waiting for that, and just carry out the video.
to produce film, or they've got something on the scale of Hollywood, and maybe they are making Hollywood quality movies, and of course there still are, and even in the contemporary with Apollo, there were some very realistic films that were created to simulate an outer space environment, including 2001: A Space Odyssey, which came out in 1968, which shows spacecraft, it shows astronauts on the moon. It's very similar actually to what happened with Apollo.
Just like I said, really weird. Is it a coincidence? Nope, definitely not.
The technology was available to produce very, very high quality, believable motion pictures of astronauts in space on the moon, on the moon, on the moon, on the moon.
That was part 27. So yeah, guys, if you haven't already, do subscribe to Polar Detectives. They bring out some awesome stuff. I do have their video in the description box below, if you haven't already. 2001 is an awesome video. I don't see any photo from you, Lotion.
I'm gonna get it. Don't worry. I'm busy eating.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think we're gonna have a much longer stream tonight because tomorrow is work, and we're all through the video. So, yeah. What do you guys have to say about what we just watched?
I don't know how people can believe it.
I'm saying the opposite. Everything I've seen was absolutely real. I'm convinced now. I mean, henceforth, after this watch the stream tonight, I'll be going watching McToon from now on. Simon Dan, all them dudes, man. I'll just get influence from them from now on. You know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah.
So we've lost you, Cruikshank. You decided
to
finish now.
I even watch Sean Hawkins. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm just saying, I just don't understand how they can just present that and say that proves it. That proves everything they're saying.
Yeah.
Crazy.
No, it's crazy. I mean, there's just so much against their globe. I don't see how they can defend. I don't know. It's like let's say there's a sports event somewhere, and a school bus shows up, or the one team shows up with a school bus, and let's say it's an under 17s women's hockey team or something, or even baseball, whatever, and the bus shows up, and then it's just all these huge looking like 35-year-old guys with wigs on climbing out the bus to come against them, and they're like, who's this? No, this is the team, the under 17 girls. And the people are like, no, but they don't look like girls. It's like, no, they girls. But these are wigs. This guy doesn't even have a wig. It's like, no, it's not a wig, it's real because we say so. And that person that doesn't have a wig, how dare you be against the... She lost her hair.
Yeah, you're right. It's like the lunar module, it's Scotch tape on there. Do you know what I mean? They were economising, that's all. They get the most money in the world. Do you know what I mean? What they're economising for?
That's exactly. It's like standing right in front of you, staring at you with all the problems. It's fake. And you're still going to have the people standing, no, it's real. We'll defend it. It doesn't matter what you're going to present. We're going to just defend it.
It's tinfoil, but it's gold tinfoil.
See, the thing is, it might have looked, back in 1969 to people looking at it then, it might have looked feasible, but in 2023, looking back, and then...
Yeah, but how much people actually had a television in their home by that time, in those years? Not much. People usually went and listened to it on the radio.
Yeah,
most of the people,
and the televisions were low res. Do you know what I mean? So you wouldn't have noticed that kind of thing back then.
Yeah, don't even get started on the petrified moon rock, Flat Earth. No, it's crazy. I mean, they say, but we saw it on the TV. Yeah, you saw a production that really looked bad, so you wouldn't think to see it as real. Most of the people who heard it on the radio didn't watch it themselves, but they associated as they watched it because they heard it on the radio or they knew someone that worked on a compartment of the shuttle. Like, oh, my dad helped screw in the bolts on this part of the module, or I know my uncle did this part of giving the paint. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like that thing with Johnny Vaughan, where they convinced people they were going into space and that. That program, the UK program.
Oh yeah,
If you look
Space
at that,
Cadets.
that was like early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s or something. And you look at it now, it looks so dated. It looks, how could that have even convinced them? But it convinced them.
Space Cadets.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's Space Cadets. What you talking about?
Yeah, Space Cadets. That's it.
That's what I placed that other Are You Suggestible video on. It's based on Space Cadets, and it was done so fake, and they still fell for it.
It looks really fake. You look at that when they're looking back at the Earth. It looks terrible. It doesn't even look like a high-res monitor or anything like that. It looks awful, and that it convinced them.
Yeah, well, they were convinced that they created artificial gravity for them. I mean, how the hell?
Nice. I haven't watched it to that detail. I didn't know
That's
that.
crazy.
Wow.
I totally forgot about the artificial gravity.
That's why they didn't float around. They believed they had artificial gravity created for them. It's like, oh. And they gave it some stupid name or something, like Amy or what, I can't remember.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy. So I think we're going to end it here, maybe.
Okay. Well, it's still been pretty much 2 hours.
Yeah, it was a good stream. I think it went quite well, though.
I've got to say, I'll be giving a testimony on Sergio's channel on Tuesday. I'm not sure. I think it's his backup channel though. I'll put it in closer to the day. I'll put it in the chat so people can subscribe to it or whatever, or come watch or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Awesome. No, that'll be looking because I know I'm definitely going to go on sometime as well.
Cool. Michael's got to do it as well. I don't know if they've sorted out when Michael and him's doing it, but yeah, I'll be doing it this Tuesday.
Definitely. Okay, so guys, I think that was a good show. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had some good laughs.
You know what I found funny? We're all talking about space and Andrew's still banging on about spherical triangles.
Is he still?
The same.
I haven't read the thing about it.
He doesn't. Well, don't worry. If he pilot is still DMing me in Discord, telling me why am I not a Glober yet.
Wow. Maybe because you got that sense flags right.
I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, I'm going to say thank you guys all for coming. Thank you everybody for the super chats, the likes. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. It really does help. If you're a Glober, you can hit the down button. It doesn't matter. Just hit anything. And please share the show because it does help. So yeah, thank you guys for coming. Really appreciate it. I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Cool.
Yeah. See you guys tomorrow night. Do go to Better Than Gold to watch that stream that is going to have. It's really worth it.
What time is it?
I don't know.
Has he told me? I don't know. No, I don't know. I'll have to look at my WhatsApp. He usually tells me what time.
Just go to Better Than Gold's channel and you'll see it's probably set up. So yeah.
No, he hasn't told me.
Hasn't got it yet. Okay.
He hasn't told me not yet, no.
No, it doesn't. But he's going to stream later, so do go to his channel. It will pop up for you guys. So anyway, thanks guys all for coming. Really appreciate you all. Have a blessed evening further, and may the pressure be with you. Cheers, guys.